Well, for more, let's go to our correspondent, Batya Leventhal, who is in Jerusalem's famed Machane Yehuda open market. And Batya, let me ask you, there's some confusion about what exactly is allowed to remain open, what isn't, especially what constitutes takeout and delivery. What's the scene there in Machane Yehuda?
Well, we are getting a sense of that confusion here in Machane Yehuda. It has emptied out over the last couple of hours. Takeouts is one of the things that is now being permitted by the Israeli government. But what we did see walking around the markets earlier was people actually dining in at a lot of the stores here, in particular some of the bars even. So a lot of confusion about what is allowed, what isn't allowed, what stores can open, what can't. It seems like the entire market sort of just came back to life when the government announced that they would be easing some of those restrictions, and certain stores may have just put themselves in the category of others, assuming that it's the whole market that gets to open and not only very specific stores under very specific circumstances, Kalev. As you can hear, the vibe here very much seems to be part of its formal days. We've spoken to quite a few passerbyers coming to get groceries and dinner. A lot of them saying, one of them even telling me this was the best day of their life, being able to get out and walk around amongst the streets. Another person telling me that this isn't anything new. They've been walking around shopping here for the last couple of days. So very much a confusion, in particular here in this market, as to what is allowed and what isn't allowed, that needs to be clarified for the people walking around here.
Right. I mean, it looks like people sitting out there, not clear if they're waiting for takeout or they took out and they're just sitting there, and it's not clear anyway what's inside or outside in that market. Now, as I mentioned, the coronavirus cabinet meeting still has to decide on the easing of other restrictions, including schools. Talk a little about that process and some of the decisions they're going to have to make.
Well, opening up the education system in the previous two lockdowns was a major issue, probably one of the first things that the government considered doing, but it's becoming less so during this coming out of the lockdown. And the reason that I say that, Kalev, is because of this new strain that is coming into Israel, a lot more contagious and affecting the younger population. So they really have to be careful here in terms of how they open the schools and what rules and regulations they are going to be pushing for. At the moment, the government is said to be looking at in-school, so in-person schools for preschoolers, kindergartens, for grades 1 through to 4 and 11th and 12th grade. These will operate in much larger capsules, but it's only going to be in the yellow and green areas under Israel's traffic light plan. These are areas that have very low infection rates. It's not going to be the same in orange and red areas like here in Jerusalem, where these capsules are going to be in much smaller groups. What's going to happen is they end up going to force the students to having to do a day in person plus a day online because of how small these groups are going to be. And they're going to be pushing for outdoor school systems, not so much within the classroom, but all will be revealed after we hear from the government in this meeting.
Right. Well, Batya Leventhal, in what looks like a very busy Machane Yehuda market this evening. Thanks for joining us.